Masculine self respect requires the will to leave. So, um, this topic is something that's super close. Um, I've I've been going through it recently, and in my past relationship, I've noticed that there were a lot of things that were going wrong for a long time, and a lot of times I know how men are, and we'll hold out because we want steady access to the fun times. We want steady access to the companionship, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to have to work from ground zero to find another one. Aside from the guys who have rosters and things like that, I'm just speaking for the average man. Um, Even if you don't have that roster, and even if you don't have that, that second or third or fourth option, um, one thing I would say is I regret not leaving at the times where when I could, because it's kind of two or three different things. So when a woman breaks up with you, um, there's a lot of different dynamics going on. There's one in particular where she's discarding you, so your value is being perceived as lower than hers. Um, so just like on a Machiavellian kind of psychopathic kind of level, it's really best to just reject the woman because she'll always see you as having higher value than her if you reject her. But generally speaking, I'm only saying this. I'm only urging the rejection if there's really nothing you can do. Like for example, if there's a woman and she's withholding sex from you, that's a really bad sign, especially if it goes on for weeks and months and even years. I know there's a lot of dead bedrooms, especially after marriage, for obvious reasons. So. Uh, The reason why, and I know a lot of guys are thinking like, "Oh, I can't break up with her; it would crush her," or "Oh, this would crush me." Here's the thing: you know what would be worse? You know what would actually feel worse if you got broken up with, and a lot of times it's for goofy reasons. A lot of women they'll just ruin perfectly good relationships, and they'll ruin situations that could be salvaged quite easily. Uh, a lot of times they'll just have other options on their mind, or they lost physical attraction, like they lost attraction for you. Women's attraction is more volatile, so it's harder to keep. A lot of times it's harder for the guy to keep the relationship going. Now if it's a higher value guy who has more options, then that dynamic, I think, changes, and it becomes it almost flips. Then that's where the women are kind of trying to chase the guy, um, and trying to keep him around. So yeah, so where the respect comes from for the guy is if he's willing to walk away, it you keep your dignity, you keep your pride. Yes, you may have been, you may have been emasculated. You may have been, whatever happened in a relationship. Maybe you guys were just arguing with each other, and maybe you were being petty. Maybe she was being petty. Now, if you were being petty, I think, as a man, changing that behavior and kind of saying, okay, this was petty. I'm going to do this, and we're going to move in this direction. Things like that. I don't advise apologizing to women. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but um, yeah, you at your most like self-respecting is going to be you when you walk away from bad behavior, when you walk away from a situation you can't fix, and that's especially after you've addressed the issue with the person. Walking away from that issue once you see that they're not going to do anything to solve it. Now, some women will actually come running back, and I'm not really going to advocate what a guy does in that situation. I've experienced it before, and I had my way of dealing with it, but I'm not going to tell a guy what to do with that situation. But um, in order to retain your self respect as a man, you have to be willing to leave, to walk away. Now you can put that you can say that in any way you want. You can say putting her on ice. You can say leaving, going out the door, um, and just finding someone else. Now, the replacement thing, that's something, it sounds harsh, but you have to do that as well. If she's not giving you fun times, then, maybe you say, okay, look, this is what I wanted and I'm not getting it. So I'm going to have to get it through this way. Unless unless you're willing to do something. And if she says no, then you kind of have to, make the decision. Again, you're the man. Being decisive is something that you're charged with. Um, if the woman isn't decisive, you're not going to lose respect for her. But if you're indecisive, she will lose probably full respect for you. I've seen it a lot. There was a time when uh, I remember getting some food, and uh, the woman I was dating at the time asked me what kind of food I wanted, and I said I didn't know. And she got so she seemed so angry, so displeased at the idea that I didn't know what kind of food I wanted in that moment, which was interesting. But yeah, masculine self-respect requires that you're willing to leave. And one thing I would say is, yes, it's gonna hurt. There's no telling how long you've been with the person, especially if you have kids with them, and it makes it difficult. But and you could at least be at a distance and just parent the children from a distance. But if the person is not respecting you, if they're trying to emasculate you, if they're doing little things to get at you and things like that, there's a point where you have to leave that, because that's draining you of energy. And eventually, if you keep allowing it, they're gonna notice that you're allowing it, and they're gonna lose respect from you for you anyway. So it's kind of a double lose if you stay. Um, but if you leave, it could be a win in a lot of different ways, not just one. You could find another person who doesn't treat you in that way. Now, this is only if you've actually brought up the subject. If you're just secretly holding on to it and you haven't spoken to the person, that's a different story. That's something you have to address right as it happens, and that's also a part of the masculine self respect, is that when there are issues, they have to be brought up right then and there, and they have to be solved right then and there, and the boundary has to be established right then and there. So that's it for now. I don't see a part two for this one. Masculine self respect requires the will to leave.